Well, good morning, everyone. My name is John. I'm with C3 SoftWorks. If you have any questions, feel free to chime in the chat feature here with the webinar application, and be happy to answer any questions you have, kind of as we go through here. Really appreciate you guys joining us. We'll try to keep things relatively short today, but I want to touch on a couple key points and obviously highlight a few things that you can do to hopefully update your training or worst case, get some new ideas. So we're going to chat a little bit about bridging age gaps. And so I guess it's an interesting topic because it's something that's often discussed in training. Um, some people don't think it's a big issue. Some people do. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but we'll talk about some of the things that you can do to hopefully bridge gaps in general, not just age gaps. So, wanted to hear how things were going this year. Please feel free to comment. Let us know how things are going in 2021. It's only been a couple months, but I think most people, this past year, I guess one of the good things about the pandemic, it's forced us as trainers to learn some new skills, and I think that's an important thing to do anytime um, you're training. If you're teaching the same information, the same PowerPoint slides, it's not going to be fun for you. It's certainly not going to be fun for your participants either. So, what are some new tools that you've learned this year? So we'll go ahead and take a look at the chat here. It looks like Nancy says that she's still not getting engagement from her participants. I think that's been one of that's honestly even before COVID. One of the biggest obstacles for folks was, hey, how do I get more engagement in my training? I'm sitting in a classroom. We're trying to do more activities. We're trying to play games. We're trying to do new things. And I think it's no different now that we're working virtually. In fact, it's even harder. Another comment here says, it's hard to know what my students are doing. That's true. They could be watching ESPN. Even if the camera's on, there could be something behind them. Maybe they're maybe they're playing a game of chess with their cat. Who knows? Who knows what people are doing on their own time? But it's important, as trainers, I think, to get people into the fold and engaged. How do we make them focus, even if it's for a short amount of time? I think one of our other workshops, the first one, we talk a lot about how less is more. Doing less is good. If you can break things up into manageable chunks, that's better. And I think a lot of people have done that this year. And I think the virtual, people working self-paced, doing things on their own, mixing that in with instructor-led instruction is good. I don't think we need to have 8-hour sessions, but some people do have those. And how do we bring those people into the fold as well? Another comment here said that yeah, it's hard to see your students' faces, and that's true, right? So if you're in and I think what they mean by that is it's hard to know what they know. It's hard to know if they understand the content. I think it was a little hard in person too. I mean, you could sometimes get a feel for blank stares and those type of things, but now it's even harder. I mean, there's in some cases no cameras on. If you have a larger group, it's harder to check that. So, what are some ways that we can, collect information from our students and get feedback? Personally, I think as an instructor, um, the number one thing that people just want is feedback. You want to know, do you understand this or not? Why do you think this? And we'll talk a little bit about that today. Um, we're going to spend a little bit more time we're going to focus on the virtual side of things because that's where we're at. There's not too many people working in offices right now. I'm actually working from my couch today, so it does certainly make sense that we chat a little bit about that. But we're going to focus a little bit specifically on the age gaps. And I'll be honest, I'm not a huge proponent of this. I think it's important that we manage people. Not an idea of what we have of someone. I think we get into stereotypes and a lot of times we're misinformed. So I was told I lived in a foreign country for a while. If you ever had a problem, look for the youngest person possible. They're going to speak English. That may have been true to a certain extent, but a lot of times the kid wouldn't know the directions. So, so I think you have an idea about someone before you get into it, regardless of age or sex or whatever other characteristics you maybe have a preconceived notion of. Not all older workers are Luddites, and not all young people are super tech savvy. I have young friends that are not very good with technology. So I think it's important that we just get rid of those expectations. We get rid of the assumptions because, um, anytime you make an assumption, you can embarrass yourself and you can embarrass, other people around you. You never want to run into that. So that's really important. Oops, click on the screen here. Make it engaging. I don't think this is any different than anything that we do as a trainer, but I think this is one of the issues with a preconceived notions. Like, younger people can't pay attention in my class. They're too unfocused. Well, again, that's a preconceived notion. There's plenty older people that are zoning out too. They just do it in different ways. And I think that's where the gap is. In maybe an older generational person, like my parents, they maybe they zone out in different ways. So they're looking at a presentation, but nothing's going on. Daydreaming, I think, was a skill that older, pre-internet kids developed quite well. Young kids today, they like, cell phones and iPads and all those things. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. Either you're engaged or you're not. And I think in this case, even in live classrooms, there's plenty of people that have never-ending text slides or lectures. No one really wants to spend a lot of time in a lecture. Sometimes they're necessary, and sometimes it's safety related issues that you need to focus on. But you can make those into fun, engaging, challenges. And I think one of the ways we'll talk about is games, but you could use polling features. You could use breakout sessions. We're going to focus primarily on games today because that's, as a company, what we do, and we focus our energies on. But we do have other engagement tools, and we try to encourage people to utilize a lot of different things as well. Um, I think in general, there's people that, and like I said at the beginning, have these preconceived notions. Okay, that old guy, he doesn't like technology because he's old, and that young person, they love technology because they're young. I really think it comes down to a matter of just people that love technology and people that hate it. And so I don't think age really has a whole lot to do with that. But there are things that you can do to make things fun. Um, I do think keeping things simple is important. If you have very convoluted games where, hey, in this scenario you need to do this, but in this one you do that, things get a little bit out of control. And I think the best thing you can do is make things challenging and make things in a way that's easy to use, manageable. And I think there's a few things you can do. If it's a self-paced activity, you could send them things that are interactive. We have a quiz software. It's real basic, but you can customize it in a lot of ways. And a lot of people will use it as a newsletter. So it could be, okay, we have a weekly quiz that we send out, but if you want to add some layers to it, you could make it more informative. We have a group that uses it for COVID updates. So as a county, they'll send it out to their residents. Hey, here's a couple quiz questions. What are some ways that you can prevent the spread of COVID? A, wear a mask. B, socially distance, etc. The next slide might be video of Dr. Fauci. I'm making this up, of course, but they do have other videos that they use. I don't know specifically what they are. Then the next slide might be county statistics, like, hey, here's how we're doing for COVID cases. Here's how many deaths, etc. And I thought it was a really clever way to get engagement. And then you can add a survey style kind of question at the end. Hey, what are some ways that we can improve? And I think, again, as a teacher, as an instructor, we're looking for feedback. So that's something that you can do. The other one is make your meetings more than lectures. People hate lectures. Even in college, an hour-long lecture is a long time. If you could get, 15, 20 minutes into lectures out of an hour-long session, that rest of the time can be engaging, and you can ask questions and have discussions. But there's, a lot of times where people don't want to give feedback. So we need to be creative in how we get feedback. And I think that you can use technology to do that. You can use polling. You can use these interactive newsletters, and you can use games, and we'll get into that in a second. But I really think you know, forcing people to become engaged is important. It sounds like a bad word, forcing, but it's it's kind of the reality of it. So what can we do? Again, we talked about these interactive newsletters. We talked about polling. We talked about creating breakout sessions where there's communication. I think lecturing is useful. Some people learn that way, but most people learn by doing. Most people learn by seeing. And I think that you need to create things that can bridge that gap. I know this is kind of a goofy bridge here, but um, live virtual sessions. So again, if we're in these live sessions, maybe hopefully instructor-led in-person sessions, but live instructor-led virtual sessions right now, you want to get real-time feedback. You want to be able to identify knowledge gaps. And ultimately, I think what you're hoping to do is create teachable moments. So we'll talk a little bit more about the game when we play it, but I think, in some instances, people will repurpose their PowerPoints into a game. And I think that's a really clever way to not only present information, but get feedback from participants and then hopefully remediate if there's a problem. And we'll show you how to do that today. Self-paced. What are the things what are your students doing at home? Are they studying? Are they watching, sports? Are they going to the gym? Are they who knows what they're doing, honestly. And in some cases, who cares? As long as you know that they understand the content and they're going to be able to, pass a certification or a test or be safe. I think it's important that we do that. And there's a lot of ways that we can do that. I talked a little bit about interactive newsletters. There's people that use just basic quizzes. Could be, maybe you have a training session coming up on a Thursday. You could send something out on a Monday. 4 or 5 slides, couple questions. Hey, this is what we're going to cover. We just want to see where you're at. And you can add things like leaderboards, make it more competitive. I think that's a great way to get knowledge checks and to feel a little bit of a connection as well with people while they're working from home and they're not doing live sessions. So we're going to talk a little bit about Bravo Zone. It's a product that we sell. Obviously, we're focused on games, but there's also some alternatives. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time playing a game, kind of showing you how you can bridge those gaps. I don't think age gap is probably the best thing to say. It's more of just a technology gap and how easy it can be. We'll come back to this page in a second, but we're going to play a quick game. For those of you that have a cell phone, I would prefer that you use that. I think it's a better way in general to keep people off a cell phone during a presentation. And this is a game, one of my favorite games, Catapult, just in relation to bridging age gaps. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some people, if you have a cell phone, open up your camera, and you're going to highlight this QR code here. So the QR code is going to allow you to join the game. And let's see here. The other thing you could do is go to bravozone.us. So maybe you're working on a browser, you don't want to use or a PC, I'm sorry, and you don't want to use your phone. You can still participate. Just go to the website bravozone.us and go ahead and click on that link there. We'll just wait a couple seconds where people can sign in. And again, go ahead, open that camera. Don't need to take a picture of it. Just highlight that QR code, and you'll be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start the session. And this is kind of a goofy game. We have some more kind of TV Hollywood style games, but I like the little hipster guy versus the old granny lady. So they're going to compete. So for those of you that join the red team, you're on the quote unquote hipster young team. But I like the cool lady with the sunglasses too. So the first question, and this is something that you can use to, again, like I said, people repurpose PowerPoints. They make these into very useful presentations. So in this case, I'm introducing a topic. Previous slide, who are the different generations? You got traditionals and boomers and Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, and then all these little subcategories in there. I guess maybe I'm Gen Y or Gen X, somewhere in between. But yeah, I think people use these preview slides. Maybe it's even to introduce a situation. It could be like, hey, a patient came in today. They were exhibiting signs of blah blah blah. Next slide might be the question. What would you do, kind of thing. And we'll get into that. But I think ultimately what you're trying to get is you're trying to get the feedback, and you can see everybody's answered here. Okay, in this case, there is a bit of a knowledge gap, right? We have kind of answers all over, and we're using, looks like we're using some robots. But why were penny loafers called penny loafers? So, great opportunity for me as an instructor to just kind of pause, right? Slow down. We can play a game and we can have fun, and I think um, when people think of the games, that's what they think of. I want to have a little bit of fun. I want to use it as a review tool. Um, but ultimately, it's designed as a teaching tool, right? So right now is a very teachable moment. You have 30% that say D, you have 27% that say C, and 25% that say B. Um, great opportunity to ask questions. Hey, for those of you that chose A, why did you choose A? Well, some of the feedback you might get, oh, if they're so cheap, I just always assumed they were, not an expensive product. Or, B, I remember, Penny having those shoes on in Casablanca. Either way, this is more of a baby boomer question. But again, you're getting feedback. Not only can you see if your students understand if the question is correct, but it gives you an opportunity to ask why. Why do you think that? And then ultimately, when you do reveal the correct answer, which is C, you can provide some context. There's probably a lot of people in that 27% that, hey, maybe you guessed, or maybe you knew the answer was C. This is my case, but you didn't know why. And if you're using these summary screens, again, repurposing some of this PowerPoint information, some of this lecture information into teachable moments. Okay, hey, I got that one right, but I don't know why. Or I got that one wrong. Obviously, I don't know why. So let's learn a little bit about it. And so we can learn that prep students used it to make phone calls. They would kind of hide it there. You know, not really a useful question, but you could see the power of it. And hopefully it just creates an opportunity where people don't forget it. This game's particularly funny because you can vote on how to punish your opponent. So it looks like the blue team won. Choose the rock. Pretty tame punishment. So probably the least tough one. There's gonna be some other hard ones on there. So this next question is a Generation Y. Again, using my preview screens to introduce topics. I recommend doing it if you're a customer that's already currently using the products. Make sure you have those preview and summary slides. It just gives you the more teachable moments. Okay, 38% new kids. Wow. Again, big knowledge gap, right? Very teachable opportunity. Oh, 20% say D and 23% C. Correct answer is actually D, the Backstreet Boys. So big knowledge gap there, but I like to use GIFs too. They're quite fun. So that's I forget who that singer is, but he's with the Backstreet Boys. You can also use videos, embed YouTube videos into the games. In this case, I have a Backstreet Boys video. It looks like it's loading kind of slowly, but my internet's a little bit slow today. So, but yeah, we're gonna maybe skip the Backstreet Boys this morning. It's a little early for them, but um, you do have the ability to upload videos and copy them into your games, embed them. So I know those can be especially useful if you're doing self-paced. So again, you could use this game we're showing you an instructor-led version, but you could also use it in your learning management system, or you could send it out as a link. So they could be done asynchronously as well. People can do them on their own time. Great way to review. Looks like a little more parity here. Oh, I think we're going to get the potion from the blue. Looks like they got that one right again. And, I'm going to turn you guys into a big ogre there. Sorry. Millennial question. What slaps me? Kind of a goofy video here. All right. Big knowledge gap again. My questions are tough. This one's going to be C. We're going to move this game on a little bit faster here today. Be excellent or amazing. Great job. So this music slaps. Definition slaps. Excellent. So let's see. Oh, we clicked in blue one again. Another great thing about this is you are able to do a few things. So we can add a timer. Maybe things are a little bit slower. We can look at all the participants, see how everyone's scores are. Or we can also show the top scoring users, and we'll do that quick. So just the top 5. It looks like there's probably 50 people or so logged in. But it looks like David Washington and Freddie White and Ruth Nelson and John West have all been undefeated. But you can see there's Betty's on a different team and Williams on a different team. So you're going to be able to see a little bit different result there. So you can still create some incentive for people to work within the framework of the team. So get the fireball this time. Boom. All right, this will be the last question. This is for the Generation Alpha. All right, didn't expect this one. A little bit more difficult question, but who is this famous YouTuber? Let's see if we can get all over the board here again. And if you have 12-year-old boys, pretty easy question. Okay. Perfect example, excuse me, of a knowledge gap. Good thing this is the final question. Yeah, starting to trail off here. B, Dude Perfect. Great. So these guys have 41 million YouTube subscribers, and most of them are under the age of probably 18. So one little final punishment for probably missing the red team. Oh, wow. Red team won. Big comeback. Congratulations, Red team. Got the white flag out. So, Red team won, 271 to 204, very close. Celebration on the sound off. There's a celebration sound. So, David Washington had the highest score on the blue team, but the team maybe not as good. The part that I really like about this is, again, creating all these teachable moments. It gives you a chance to review again. What are some of the harder questions? All right, we didn't do so good on the Backstreet Boys question. Make sure everybody go home, review, study your Backstreet Boys, and do your best to kind of make sure you remember that. So again, we're creating these teachable moments. We're really utilizing this tool as a powerful teaching mechanism, as opposed to, yes, you can use it as an icebreaker. You can use it as a fun game at the end of a session, but it's $15.95 a year, which isn't a lot of money if it's something you're using on a regular basis. So, if it's something that's integrated with your teaching, if you're using it to introduce topics and to review and to get feedback, it's great. It's a great, great tool. Actually, I was going to show you guys just kind of the full suite here. So we played Catapult, but there are a few other games as well. We have a kind of a wheel style game where there's multiple categories. Same with Quiz Show. It's kind of a Jeopardy style game where you have different categories. An instructor guides you through. And then those games could be used, again, in these live sessions that we're using today, or in a self-paced module as well. So you do an LMS, or you could use our reporting system on our site as well. Tally is a presentation tool, much like you can use slides and presentations, but really adds a lot of extra layers of polling. So I know many of you have a webinar, like Zoom or Teams or where you can go to meeting today, that has basic polling features. Tally has much more advanced features. So if you're looking to get open-ended questions, chat bubbles, image mapping, where you can have click on the right image, and those type of things. Same with Spark. You can as well. Spark is a little bit different, Spark and Whirl. Those are the tools that people typically have been using for those newsletters I mentioned earlier, or those preview and review sessions as well. So real micro-learning focused, self-paced, 100% self-paced, but a great way to utilize. And if you've created content in a game, drag and drop it into a Spark quiz, send it out. Great way to keep people engaged. We're going to wrap things up here. Are there any questions, any feedback? I'll take a look at the chat screen here, and you guys have some questions. Okay, yep, it's an annual subscription service. It's $15.95 a year. It's $1,595 a year, and it's an annual renewal subscription. Again, it comes with all the games that we mentioned today, support, training, all that stuff. And then we'll have new content kind of coming out periodically throughout the year, probably every two months or so. For those of you that have a license right now, you'll be seeing probably a new game in the next month and a half or so. I think probably mid-April we'll have. I guess it's almost a month away now, but there'll be a new version of Moonshot, which is our space race game. So I know our folks at NASA will be excited for that. Any other questions? I know there's some nice things that people are saying. I really appreciate the positive messages. So thank you for that. Feel free to email me. That might be the best way. And I'll go ahead and if you'd like, I'd be happy to kind of walk through the game again with you and your team. So send me an email. Happy to do that. My name's John again, and you can call me or text me if you'd like to, if you prefer to communicate that way. And we'd be happy to set up a time with you and, like I said, walk you and your team through. And if you really like the software, maybe it's just a matter of convincing, someone that makes those decisions. And we're happy to help you with that too. So, um, again, thanks for your time. Really appreciate everyone coming in today. And we'll have another walkthrough. I believe the first or second week of March. So we'll look forward to that. And again, have a great day. Good luck with your training this year, and hopefully we can help you later. Thanks.